Fearful Symmetry is a lot more representative of Justice League Unlimited than Epilogue was, so this is our real introduction to the series. JLU allowed for a huge roster of less well-known DC heroes, or those who you just can't build a series around. Today's episode features a 4-character representation of that spectrum. Supergirl, Green Arrow, The Question, and someone I'll get to when the time is right. Supergirl is the most famous, even getting her own live-action film, so she gets a lot of representation, but the downside is that she usually winds up in Superman's shadow. In fact, that ties into this story. Kara's having a nightmare that she's chasing down some poor schlub and fighting a squad of goons with laser weapons and gliders, whooping their asses with both ease and disregard for collateral damage, though admittedly that's quite common when superheroes do just about anything, I think. Inside Star Lab, she gets attacked by a robot, but defeats it and finishes the guy off just in time for Supergirl to awaken. I'm sorry, I know what caused that is supposed to be terror, but I can't help but think of this.
When he got excited, he would...
Oh. Whoa, there's some cool for you.
Martian Manhunter says that this seems too linear for a dream, and notably devoid of math tests that she didn't study for, so it might have been real, but it didn't seem like they were actual memories either. She goes to her friend Green Arrow for help.
I don't know, I've had some dreams that felt mighty real. There was this one the other night.
What a one-track mind. Even your power is trying to stick long shafts into things. Green Arrow is a step down from Supergirl as far as knowledge goes. While the average person has likely heard of her, it's unlikely they would be familiar with him, likely mistaking him for either Robin Hood or the Green Hornet. But in geek circles, most people will know who he is, the alter ego of Oliver Queen, the name voted most likely to get your head shoved in a high school toilet. They're joined by The Question. His superpower is that he's voiced by Jeffrey Combs. Now, he's a further step down, although I should clarify, I don't mean the characters are getting worse by this. This is just a scale of their notoriety, and he's definitely one that is more off the radar. Though that's a bit skewed since JLU brought awareness of him to large numbers of people, so his fame grew and justified more prominent use with further increases, and you get the idea. The same thing, of course, applies to Arrow. I was referring to that time period. Obviously, with the release of his show, he's become more familiar to a lot of people, although it is on the CW, so you never know. He was the inspiration for Rorschach and Watchmen, actually. The Question was created by Steve Ditko, who is an ardent supporter of objectivism, which was reflected in his creation. Well, this version seems to have jettisoned that in favor of adapting his detective skills into part of his ability to see such large connections that he not only believes in conspiracies, but that there is one single conspiracy made up of all of them. His abilities cut through the issue to the core. Star Labs is where Supergirl was taken during the craziness with Superman in his own animated series. He had been brainwashed and turned against the Earth. It happens. Arrow doesn't buy a word of this, though. He's the save-the-pond scum lefty to Question's got fluoride right-wing views, so they make a great double act.
This whole trip might just prove the kid shouldn't eat nachos before bed.
Peanut butter sandwiches.
How did you... What? Do you go through my trash?
Please. I go through everyone's trash.
That is a terrible superpower. Must have been bitten by a radioactive raccoon. The lab does indeed have the robot from her dream, but it's a surgical robot. It was used on her because it has a kryptonite lance to allow them to operate. How else are they supposed to cut through there, could use a kryptonite ray, but her HMO doesn't cover that. Anyway, that seems like it wraps everything up nicely, except that the trio is attacked by robots and helicopters just outside the lab. Arrow, despite the fact that his power is firing arrows at people, actually uses non-lethal attacks here, clouding the area to obscure enemy vision and targeting their weapons, while the Question prefers... overkill. The bad guys are driven off, but the Question notes that the robots are the same type that they use for their training, provided by the military, and the project that created them was founded by General Hardcastle, the same guy who helped put her in Star Lab's surgical bay, I might add. Retirement hasn't been good to him, it seems, as he's ready with a kryptonite bullet to put Supergirl down, though he has just the one, because it's part of an alien planet and all that. And this slingshot fires moon rocks! That bites him in the butt because Green Arrow steps in between the two, leaving Hardcastle with a dilemma. If he fires the bullet, he has no means to stop Supergirl. But on the other hand, who hasn't wanted to see Green Arrow shot just a little bit at some point? So, in that moment of indecision, the question disarms him. Hardcastle fills them in, but it's mostly just general conspiracy stuff. Government and big business in bed together, files on superhumans, unethical experiments, pennies are really just tiny microphones that secretly record everyone in America. It's all the work of a faceless cabal. No offense question.